Hey, welcome back to Game 2 of Sparkyz vs. Oz. This is go.go as the red Terran in the southeast position, and HiyA as the yellow Terran in the northwest position. HiyA looking like he wants to move out and take a little bit more map control in the center of the map, but other than that, pretty even matchup so far. Both players on 3 bases. I believe both are just about ready to set up their 4th. But HiyA pressing in all the way into the tank line of go.go. go.go's tank line is pretty deep, but some vultures being able to sneak by and are going to be able to do a lot of damage to that newly built 3rd base from go.go. A couple of tanks trying to move up the ramp to help clear those out, but having to scan and take out mines along the way. A couple of kills, a couple of SEV kills there for HiyA, doing a little bit of economic damage to go.go, and that's more or less going to even out the fact that go.go was able to get that expansion earlier. So once again, sort of turning into a fairly neutral exchange. A little bit of a loss for go.go, but nothing too serious because those vultures were cleared out, and he had a little bit of a lead anyways at that point. Anyways, it looks like go.go wants to return the favor in terms of damage. He's pushing into that line and taking out a couple of tanks and a couple of Goliaths as well. And forcing HiyA to retreat just slightly, but expect a lot of this for the next few minutes until there's enough dropships to really be doing a lot of dropship play, because right now both players are about even economically and in terms of production strength, so it's going to be a lot of back and forth in terms of map control. And really it's pretty evenly split along that diagonal line of the other 2 bases that neither player has. It'll be interesting to see which player tries to venture out first and take another one of those natural expansions. But at the moment, both players sitting on 3. It looks like HiyA was trying to set up a 4th, but once again those spider mines, those vulture mines, delaying that, and the same thing happening on go.go's end, but go.go fortunately has some vultures to clear out those mines. Anyways, I don't know where I was about to go with that. Something about HiyA. Right, oh yeah, so in the first, so these Sparkyz and Oz met each other in week 1, if you can remember, all the way back to October of the 9-10 Proleague season. And in that match, Hwaseung Oz, dominated Sparkyz, and that's kind of been the theme of the year so far. Although Hwaseung Oz has not been able to keep up the dominance in the Pro League that I thought they were going to be able to. Jaedong, I wouldn't say he's in a slump, but he's definitely cooled down from where he was in recent years. HiyA, of course, being pretty good as he usually is, actually doing pretty well this season, 7-4 overall. But just 3-4 against Terran. But HiyA's, in his appearance in week 1, did beat Lita in that game, which was a very exciting game. So you should check that out if you didn't already, although I'm sure if I were to listen to it again, I would be totally embarrassed, because I feel like, despite not being a great commentator, I have at least gotten better since I started in week 1. So anyways, check that out either on my channel or somewhere else if need be. Anyways, finally, go.go has been able to get a reasonably sized dropship force, so he's got 4 dropships out in the field, which will be enough to do some nice, maybe Goliath, at least some vulture and tank bombs on top of siege lines of tanks. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, I mean, it's common practice for pro gamers, if there are a big group of tanks that are all sieged up defending something, the opponent will generally bring in a Goliath, or if it's a Protoss, they'll bring in Zealots or something like that, drop them directly on top of those tanks, and force all of those tanks to shoot themselves with their own splash damage, which can be a very cost-effective way of killing tanks. So keep that in mind the next time you're playing as Terran, or against a Terran, I mean. So those 4 dropships ready to roll out, heading up and trying to stop another base going down in the northeast main base area. It looks like at least 3, about 5 tanks in there, sieged up, and a couple of vultures help defend. Yeah, 4 dropships coming in for HiyA, and they're going to be able to wipe that out. That is a bomb, just like I was talking about, except he dropped tanks rather than Goliaths. That can be just as effective too. You need something like tanks or Goliaths that can take a couple of hits from tanks in order for it to be effective at all. But pretty nice job there by HiyA being able to, take only minimal losses from that drop by go.go and then wipe out the entire drop force that go.go had. So go.go, not doing much with his drop, needs to, do something a little bit more substantial in terms of economic damage. I think a better option would have been to try to attack the already established third base over in the 9 o'clock position that HiyA has, because it's a little bit vulnerable. All of HiyA's forces are a little bit out from that base, and but what can you do? He didn't know that those dropship forces were ready to come and clean things up, and it looks like he might be thinking about going into that 9 o'clock base, just like I was talking about. No, he might be dropping directly on that tank line. Looks like he's trying to take a little bit of position back in the middle of the map. HiyA coming in with a counter drop up to the north to establish his line once again a little bit further back, but both players losing pretty minimal forces. Oh no, I did not realize this was going on. That's bad news for go.go. go.go trying to expand down in the southwest natural expansion over in, say, the 7 o'clock position, but it looks like HiyA had already built a base there, and the missile turrets that HiyA had put around it actually kill off the command center. go.go is going to be able to clear out that base that HiyA had built. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to kill it because reinforcements are coming out, but a pretty big loss due to basically lack of scouting. You should always scout where you're about to plant your base. That's just a simple rule. Always scout. It looks like that command center that HiyA had built there is probably going to burn down. A couple of Goliaths hanging out, waiting to give it a death blow if it ever tries to come back and land. But go.go bringing in a lot of extra forces down here to try to clear up the reinforcements that HiyA has up on top of the ridge, and so he's putting a pretty big investment in getting this base up, which is not the case for HiyA. I think HiyA is just sort of gradually winning these battles and gaining a bigger and bigger lead because he's being able to plant up this base in the northeast without any interruption. He's able to put up a lot of defenses in terms of missile turrets, and HiyA hasn't been able to harass it at all. His first drop there did nothing. He's going to drop there again, but HiyA once again ready with a counter drop is probably going to be able to clear out these forces. He already kills, I think, the sole tank that was in there. No, there were a few more tanks further to the south, but still a pretty big group of tanks and Goliaths that just don't have good enough position to do any damage to that base in the northeast. I think go.go has been able, well, he at least is in control of that territory in that 7 o'clock expansion, except I don't know if he has a command center in there yet, and he really needs to get another base up and mining to keep up with HiyA, because HiyA is just going to slowly be able to gain a lead, and this is a very resource-heavy map, so it's pretty easy for a Terran to just get a whole lot of defenses, especially if if he's not losing many units. go.go once again coming in with a drop, and this is pretty critical right here. He needs to take down this command center. A counter drop once again coming from HiyA, and that command center does go down, so go.go getting a nice win and being able to bring himself back into this game a little bit, and he might have evened things out just a little bit, especially if he can get this command center up and running at the 7 o'clock position, which he is trying to do right now. But there are forces from HiyA up on the ridge. That 7 o'clock position base that I'm talking about is the natural expansion for the southwest starting position, and HiyA's forces are hanging out in what would be the main base of that starting position. So go.go is getting that base up, but it's definitely not, it's still in trouble, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. Anyways, go.go finally trying to come in and clear out the troops that are in the northeast to continue to prevent HiyA from getting that expansion, and maybe if go.go can even take this expansion as well, he will put a firm grasp on this game, because he will be up at least 2 bases on HiyA and have the strategic advantage in being able to expand to all of those other bases, hanging out around those starting positions. It looks like go.go has finished that command center, but those forces that I was talking about in the main base at the southwest starting position are being able to siege down into the natural area to deny mining there. So go.go has a base but isn't able to do anything with it. It looks like he is mined out at his main and natural expansion, maybe even at that 3 o'clock base that he went for his... Wait, no, he went for the 6 o'clock base for his 3rd expansion, so I'm not sure exactly where that is in terms of minerals, but it looks pretty low on the minimap. go.go once again trying to land that base, but he hasn't done anything to clear out those forces. It looks like finally he's bringing in his dropship group to do a little bit of damage to that, dropping on top of the